All right, let's kick it off with I think is our consensus quarterback one of this year's class, and if you're not with me, but it's going to be Malik Willis out of Liberty, and I think you're nodding, so I think you're in agreement with the quarterback one designation that I have. I think he's going to be the first one off the board in April. I think we're in April now, but I think we're about 4 weeks away officially, just under that in terms of getting to the draft. But Malik Willis is a guy I like a lot of upside with him, a lot of potential, raw in a lot of areas, but definitely a guy that I think teams, if they're looking at a quarterback, should be the guy that you take the risk on drafting in the first round.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. And with the teams looking for quarterbacks, I think Malik Willis fits a lot of their schemes. He's probably the most electrifying quarterback in this class with his dual threat ability. He's got a great arm. He's got great speed. Obviously, like most other quarterbacks in this draft, he does have his flaws. We'll get into that in a little bit. But if you're looking at pure potential and someone that can just lightening up your offense, get it going, Malik Willis is that guy. And I think if you're looking, as I said, if you're looking at some of those teams that are still looking for quarterback, Lions, the Carolina Panthers, teams like that are early in the draft, I think they'd much rather go for a guy like Willis than they could go for a guy like Pickett or a Corral.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much that I personally like in Willis's game. Studying his tape, there's moments that really popped off on the tape, but there's also moments where you're kind of wondering the decision process. There's some issues with consistency, with anticipation that you would like to see cleared up if you're going to take a risk on this guy. But what we saw from his combine, made some great throws, did great in his pro day as well. I think that there's a lot of buzz around him, and I think if he's put in the right situation, maybe ideally sits for a year, I think he could eventually be groomed into something that could quite turn into a franchise guy in the National Football League.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it, and I think a lot of these guys, all 5 of these guys, could potentially be franchise guys. They have to be put in the right situation. And I think that's going to be a theme that we're going to talk about a lot. And as you mentioned, there are some concerns about Malik Willis. In my opinion, one of them is he runs a lot. He tends to put his eyes down. He doesn't keep his eyes down. He gets ready to go. And he leaves the pocket a little early sometimes, which can be a concern, which is why sitting for a year might be a great idea, which is why the Lions are such an intriguing team to me for him. Whether he goes at 2, whether he goes at 32, 31, whatever it is, or if they trade up. But, you've got Jared Goff locked in, so I could see a team like that who has someone at the position right now going and taking a little look at him. Because he's got the potential, he's got the electrifying stuff. You just need to figure out, can his flaws be fixed? And that's the question for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, even a team like Pittsburgh, who just signed Mitchell Trubisky in free agency, allows them the opportunity to, start Mitch for a year, get Malik through the thick of things, in training camp throughout the season, let him progress, and then, give him the reins. But what is it specifically off the tape that you like best out of Malik Willis in terms of a prospect potential?
I mean, if you're looking at Malik Willis, his attitude towards the game of football is amazing. You see him out of the huddle. You see him with his teammates. He is a true leader out there, and that's what you're looking for, especially on some of these young teams that need a quarterback. Malik Willis, he just brings an energy to a team and to a locker room that some of these other guys won't be able to bring. There are a lot of mellow mindsets or mellow attitudes in this draft class when it comes to the QBs. And, that's a little concerning sometimes because the quarterback is supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the one that takes the accountability. He's supposed to be the one that fires the team up. And a lot of these guys don't have that. So seeing the kind of energy that Malik Willis brings is huge, especially for himself. That's going to boost his draft grade and draft value. I just love him. As a person, as a quarterback, as a football player, he is just all around great for any team.
Yeah, what really pops off for me about his game is really just the off-script, playmaking he can do.
Yeah.
When nothing's going his way, with the design play, he's able to get out of the pocket and extend the play either with his legs or even, get out of the pocket and, make an off-scripted throw using, some scramble drills with his receivers. He has a great connection with them, and the playmaking. Just, especially in the red zone, Liberty used a lot of design, quarterback runs and quarterback read options with him where he was really able to excel and, get into the end zone. 27 rushing touchdowns at Liberty is quite impressive. Compared to the 47 passing touchdowns he had during his time at Liberty. But overall, just elite upside, raw in some areas. I think a lot of concern might also be, the fact that he was at Liberty and wasn't necessarily just dominating all the opponents he faced. Like we saw Trey Lance last year going 3rd overall from North Dakota State, and it was rightful. He dominated every team he faced in the FCS, and in the division in the conference, that Liberty's in. That's the kind of outcome you expected from Malik Willis if you expect him to be the quarterback one of this class, and just that consistent level of elite play wasn't there from him. And I talked about earlier the anticipation, just another nitpick I have. Like, the guy can power a ball, but there's times where he didn't trust the read well enough, or powered it just a little bit late, where the pass got broken up, where he needs to anticipate the receiver coming out of his break in the route. But that's something he'll learn in training camp, getting meshed up with great NFL coaches, and getting that repertoire made with his receivers can go a long way for him.
Yeah, there's no question about it. There's just so much to like about the kid. That's what you were talking about is his dual threat ability, his ability to get out of the pocket, to make something out of nothing. That's what separates him from the other quarterbacks in this class. And we're seeing a trend over the past couple of years of quarterbacks becoming a lot more mobile. And Malik Willis, he takes that to a whole nother level, while also being able to keep the typical quarterback skill set that you would consider. He's probably got one of the strongest arms in this class. And one of the strongest arms you've seen in maybe the last 3 drafts. He is everything that you could want. You just need to make sure at the NFL level you can put it all together. And, that's what it's for. You never know in the draft what's going to happen. And, sometimes you just got to take a chance on him and see if it works out.
Yeah, for sure the deep ball and arm strength that he has is insane. His combine throwing reps were ridiculous, where he was just launching bombs in front of all those scouts.